You've heard of the Big Bang, multiverse, maybe even string theory. But Gnosticism? It throws all that into a blender and creates something way more mind-bending. The ancient text, the Sophia of Jesus Christ, doesn't just talk about one universe. It claims there are 12. 12 realms, eons, dimensions. Call them what you will. Each one is a distinct, self-contained cosmic reality, layered with its own spiritual significance. And they're not just random, they're arranged in a divine order, ruled by higher, celestial beings, almost like cosmic gatekeepers. Think about this. What if the universe we live in is just one chapter in a 12-volume story? Not the center, not the crown jewel, just one layer of a much bigger picture. According to Gnostics, these eons are interconnected, like the gears of a massive, divine machine. Each aeon represents an aspect of the divine light, wisdom, power, and more. Yet they exist beyond the limits of our physical understanding. And here's the kicker. Our physical universe, it's supposedly the lowest of them all, beshadowed, cast by the brilliance of the higher realms. Here's where it gets even weirder. These aeons weren't all created equal. One of the key figures in Gnostic thought, Sophia, whose name literally means wisdom, plays a central role. In a kind of divine mishap, Sophia creates something outside the divine will of being known as the demiurge. And this demiurge? It's the one credited with creating our material universe. Yep, according to Gnosticism, the creator of our world isn't the ultimate God, but an imperfect, flawed being. That's why the material world is so full of suffering and chaos. It was created by something far less than perfect. So where do the other 11 universes fit in? They're seen as realms of pure spiritual truth, untouched by the demiurge's flawed handiwork. The Gnostics believe these higher aeons are where the soul ultimately belongs, not trapped in this material reality. This isn't just a mystical fairy tale. It's a radical rethinking of existence itself, a rejection of the idea that our universe is the center of everything. It flips the script entirely. Now, here's the part that really messes with conventional thinking. These 12 realms aren't just far-off places. Gnostic texts describe them as states of consciousness as much as physical realities. The journey to understanding them isn't about a spaceship or a portal. It's about awakening, breaking free from ignorance, and accessing deeper levels of spiritual awareness. The higher realms aren't out there. They're accessed within. And this idea of 12 universes? It resonates with so many modern theories about reality. Scientists talk about dimensions beyond the observable. Philosophers debate the nature of consciousness and the limits of perception. Could it be that the Gnostics, thousands of years ago, were onto something? Something we're only just beginning to scratch the surface of today. In the Sophia of Jesus Christ, the text pulls no punches. It says the world is not the product of truth, but comes from a deficiency. That deficiency is the demiurge, an entity born from the actions of Sophia, a divine figure who exists within the higher aeons. Sophia, in a moment of isolation and desire to create without her divine counterpart, produces the demiurge outside the harmony of the divine plan. The result? A being that's ignorant of its origins, full of pride, and convinced that it is the ultimate God. The demiurge creates the physical universe, declaring in arrogance, I am God, and there is no other beside me, the Apocryphon of John. Gnostics saw this as the ultimate blasphemy. To them, this wasn't the voice of the true God, but a deeply mistaken entity. This flawed being fashioned the material world as a reflection of its own imperfection, filled with suffering, decay, and illusion. Think about the implications of that. The struggles of life, the pain, the chaos, they are not divine tests or punishments. They're the fallout of a flawed creation. The demiurge and its creations are a counterfeit, a shadow of the true spiritual reality. For the Gnostics, the material world is a prison for the soul, designed to keep us trapped in ignorance of the higher, divine realms. And the demiurge didn't stop with the creation of the physical world. The Gnostic texts describe how this being, along with its minions, known as archons, actively works to maintain the illusion. The archons act as enforcers, keeping souls tethered to the material realm and blind to their true spiritual origins. The Gospel of Truth even describes them as empty beings who greedily snatch up the light they lack, feeding off the divine spark trapped within human souls. This isn't just a story about a cosmic villain, it's a radical rethinking of everything we know about existence. Gnostics saw the demiurge work in the institutions of the world, systems of control, fear, and division. These weren't seen as accidents or merely human flaws, but as the fingerprints of a creator driven by ignorance and pride. By identifying the demiurge as a false god, the Gnostics weren't just challenging religious orthodoxy, they were offering a pathway to the true God. The source of all light and wisdom exists beyond the grasp of the demiurge, within the higher realms of the aeons. Salvation, for the Gnostics, comes not through obedience to the demiurge, but through awakening, through gnosis, the knowledge of who we are, where we come from, and where we are meant to return. The core of Gnostic teaching revolves around a single, profound idea. Salvation doesn't come from faith, rituals, or obedience to an external authority. It comes through gnosis knowledge, not just intellectual understanding, but a deep inner realization of truth. And this truth, it's the revelation that we are divine sparks, trapped in a false, material world created by the demiurge. One of the most striking passages comes from the Gospel of Thomas, where Jesus says, "If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you." This isn't about following a dogma or a set of rules. It's about discovering and unleashing the divine light within yourself. In Gnosticism, ignorance is the ultimate sin, not sin in the moral sense, but in the sense of being blind to your true nature and origin. The Gnostic texts speak of humanity as beings who have forgotten their divine source, ensnared by the illusions of the material world. The archons, those oppressive forces of the demiurge, work tirelessly to keep this knowledge hidden, ensuring that humanity remains shackled to the cycle of suffering. The knowledge, or gnosis, is the antidote. It's the awakening that reveals the cosmic deception at play. In the secret book of John, the text declares, "You are the offspring of the light eternal and the spirit of truth, but you are kept in ignorance so that you do not remember." Gnosis is about remembering. It's not learning something new, it's reclaiming a truth that has always been within. But here's the twist. This journey of awakening isn't easy. Gnostics believed it required a complete reorientation of one's perception. They described the physical world as a labyrinth of distractions, where even religion and societal norms often serve as traps, reinforcing the illusion of the demiurge dominion. The Gospel of Philip says it bluntly: people are in darkness and live in ignorance, and they do not know where they are going or what they are seeking. What makes gnosis so radical is its deeply personal nature. There are no intermediaries, no priests, no rituals that can grant you this knowledge. It's a solitary journey, a direct connection to the divine spark within. This contrasts sharply with mainstream religious doctrines, which often emphasize external salvation, obedience, confession, or the mediation of religious authorities. In practical terms, gnosis meant stripping away the illusions of the material world, recognizing the facet of the demiurge's creation, and reconnecting with the higher, spiritual realms. The Gospel of Truth describes it as being freed from the forgetfulness that has bound them, and through this liberation, they ascend beyond the veil. The Gnostics weren't interested in offering comfort or easy answers. They demanded introspection, courage, and a willingness to confront the most unsettling truths about existence. Gnosis wasn't just a path to salvation. It was an act of rebellion against the forces of ignorance and control. It's this defiant spirit that makes their teachings as electrifying now as they were thousands of years ago. Judas Iscariot, villain, traitor, ultimate betrayer. That's how he's been portrayed for over 2 millennia. But the Gnostic Gospel of Judas flips this narrative upside down. It paints Judas not as the betrayer of Jesus, but as his closest confidant, entrusted with a mission that no other disciple could understand. The Gospel of Judas starts with an explosive premise. Jesus shared secret teachings with Judas, revealing mysteries that he withheld from the other disciples. In this text, Jesus says to Judas, "You will exceed all of them, for you will sacrifice the man that clothes me." The man that clothes me. It's not just about betrayal for 30 pieces of silver. It's about a cosmic plan. Jesus, in his divine wisdom, saw his physical body as part of the material world, part of the creation of the demiurge. By handing Jesus over, Judas wasn't condemning him. He was helping Jesus shed his material form and return to the divine realm. This isn't Judas as a backstabber. It's Judas as the ultimate insider, chosen to play a role that required understanding, courage, and trust. The text even quotes Jesus calling Judas the 13th spirit, someone who transcends the limitations of the 12 earthly disciples. Judas isn't portrayed as weak or greedy. He's the one who truly gets it. He's in on the divine plan, a partner in the spiritual revolution that Jesus came to ignite. Of course, this interpretation clashes head-on with the traditional story. In the canonical Gospels, Judas' actions lead to condemnation and despair. In the Gospel of Judas, though, his role is pivotal, not as a villain, but as an enlightened figure carrying out a sacred duty. And it wasn't just about the betrayal. The text also shows Judas as someone who questions the false teachings of the other disciples. At one point, Jesus says, "You will grieve greatly when you see the kingdom and all its generation." It's a direct acknowledgement of Judas' unique understanding and the weight of the role he's been given. What's fascinating is how this narrative reframes the entire Passion story. If Judas was chosen to hand over Jesus, then his act wasn't treachery. It was sacrifice. It was a deliberate step in a cosmic drama, one that broke the cycle of material ignorance and pointed toward spiritual liberation. The Gnostic take on Judas doesn't just redeem him, it challenges the entire framework of good versus evil that we've been taught. If Judas' betrayal was divinely ordained, what does that say about judgment, about morality, about free will? The Gospel of Judas doesn't shy away from these questions. Instead, it invites us to rethink everything we thought we knew about one of history's most reviled figures. In Gnosticism, the universe is a battleground, not a metaphorical one, a literal, cosmic war between light and darkness. This isn't just good versus evil in a moral sense, it's about the clash of two opposing forces shaping every corner of existence. The material world. It's the front line, where the forces of ignorance and deception try to suppress the light trapped within us. The Apocryphon of John puts it starkly. The world was created in a fog of darkness. That darkness, for the Gnostics, isn't just a lack of light, it's an active, malevolent force. It's the essence of the demiurge and his archons, the rulers of the material realm. These beings are described as jealous and blind, striving to maintain control over the physical world and keep humanity in ignorance of their divine origins. The text calls them powers of error, beings whose very existence is defined by their opposition to truth. At the other end of the spectrum is the true divine realm, the pleroma, a place of pure light, untouched by the corruption of the material world. The pleroma isn't just a distant paradise, it's the source of all that is real and eternal. Gnostics believed the light from the pleroma had been scattered, trapped in the material world when Sophia's creation went awry. That light lives within us, the divine spark longing to return home. This dualism isn't just about big-picture metaphysics. It's personal. Every human being is caught in the struggle between these two forces. The archons work tirelessly to distract us with the illusions of the material world, wealth, power, physical desires. The Gospel of Philip calls them empty shadows, who dwell in the tombs and drink the souls of the living. That's a haunting image, a world designed to devour and suppress the divine light within us. And yet there's hope. The light within can't be extinguished. The Gnostics believed that through gnosis, awakening to the truth, Individuals could overcome the darkness, transcend the material world, and reunite with the pleroma. This wasn't just a spiritual aspiration. It was a rebellion against the entire framework of the physical universe. It meant rejecting the authority of the archons, seeing through the illusions they create, and reclaiming the truth of one's divine origin. What makes Gnostic Judaism so striking is how it reframes suffering and struggle. In the material world, suffering isn't a test from a benevolent God or the natural order of things. It's the result of a fundamental cosmic flaw, the corruption of the demiurge and his archons. The Gospel of Truth describes the material world as a nightmare, a place where souls are trapped in fear and confusion. But through Gnosis, that nightmare can be shattered. Sophia, her name means wisdom, but in Gnosticism she's more than just a concept. She's a cosmic force, a divine being, and a pivotal figure in the story of existence. Her actions, her descent, and her eventual redemption form the backbone of the Gnostic understanding of the universe. The Pistis Sophia tells us, Sophia saw a light in the height and desired it. She moved to reach it, but fell into the chaos. This wasn't just a mistake. It was an act of creation, though one born from longing and imbalance. In her desire to bring forth something new, Sophia acted without her divine counterpart, the fullness of the pleroma. This singular action created a ripple effect that gave rise to the demiurge and the material world. Sophia is often portrayed as a tragic figure. She embodies wisdom, yet her actions lead to chaos. She is divine, yet her fall traps her in the lower realms, separated from the light of the pleroma. The Gnostic texts describe her descent as a cosmic fracture, a moment when the harmony of the spiritual world was disrupted. And from that fracture, the material universe emerged, a place of imperfection, suffering, and separation. Yet Sophia's story isn't just about a fall. It's about restoration. The Apocryphon of John describes how she calls out to the higher realms, seeking forgiveness and aid. Her cries are heard, and the divine sends help, offering a path for her redemption. This is where the human role in the Gnostic cosmos becomes crucial. The divine spark within humanity is part of Sophia's light, scattered across the material world. By seeking Gnosis, humans not only liberate themselves but also aid in Sophia's redemption. Every awakened soul contributes to the healing of the cosmic fracture. Sophia's story challenges traditional views of creation and divinity. It presents a universe where even divine beings are fallible, where creation isn't a perfect act but a process fraught with risk, desire, and consequence. And it places the feminine, both as a principle and as a divine force, at the center of the cosmic drama. In a world where most religious narratives are dominated by male figures, Sophia stands out as a powerful, complex, and deeply human figure. She is wisdom, but she is also longing, error, and redemption. Her narrative doesn't just redefine the role of the feminine in spirituality, it redefines what it means to be divine. The Gnostic texts don't portray Sophia as weak or lesser for her fall. Instead, they show her as a dynamic force, capable of both error and profound transformation. Her journey mirrors the journey of the soul. A descent into matter, a recognition of error, and an eventual return to the light. In the Gospel of the Egyptians, Sophia declares, "I am a stranger in this world, and I have come from the heights of the light, to which I shall return." This isn't just her story, it's the story of every soul trapped in the material world. Sophia's redemption is the blueprint for human liberation. Her fall brought the cosmos into being, but her ascent will bring it back into harmony. Gnosticism wasn't just another early branch of Christianity, it was a revolution, one that questioned authority, dogma, and the very fabric of reality. But revolutions make enemies. By the 4th century, the Gnostic texts and teachings were labeled heretical, systematically suppressed by the Orthodox Church, and nearly lost to history. Yet these teachings held insights that were too powerful, too illuminating, to stay buried forever. The discovery of the Nag Hammadi Library in 1945 was nothing short of a miracle. tucked away in the sands of Egypt for over 500 years. These texts, like the Gospel of Thomas, the Sophia of Jesus Christ, and the Secret Book of John, revealed a version of Christianity that the world had forgotten, or, more accurately, a version it had been forced to forget. They challenged the structures of organized religion and offered an intensely personal, transformative spiritual path. This suppression wasn't just about theology. It was about control. Gnosticism's core idea, that salvation comes from direct knowledge, gnosis, rather than external institutions, was a direct threat to the Church's authority. When people are told they don't need priests, rituals, or hierarchical structures to access the divine, they become ungovernable. They start asking dangerous questions. They see through the illusions created by those in power. The Apocalypse of Peter explicitly calls out these authorities, saying, "They will cleave to the name of a dead man, thinking they will become pure. But they will be greatly defiled and fall into error." It's a scathing critique, not just of organized religion, but of any system that prioritizes dogma over truth, hierarchy over self-realization. And it's not just about religion. The Gnostic worldview invites us to see through all illusions, political, cultural, even personal. It asks us to question everything we think we know about reality, to peel back the layers of deception and uncover what is real, what is eternal. It's a philosophy that refuses to be boxed in, one that resonates with modern seekers who find themselves disillusioned with traditional institutions. The Church's campaign to erase Gnosticism was brutal, but not total. Its idea survived, whispered through mystical traditions, esoteric movements, and secret texts. And today, in a world increasingly hungry for authenticity and deeper meaning, Gnosticism is experiencing a renaissance. It's no longer a hidden heresy, but a wellspring of wisdom for those brave enough to seek it out. As we close this exploration, it's worth remembering what the Gnostic texts ultimately stand for. They're not about rejecting faith, but about reclaiming it, reclaiming the divine light within us, breaking free from the illusions of a flawed world, and stepping into the truth of who we are. It's a call to awaken, not just spiritually but intellectually and emotionally, to see the world as it is and ourselves as we are. In the words of the Gospel of Truth, "For the one who has knowledge is from above. If called, that person hears, replies, and turns toward the one who is calling, and ascends to him, knowing what he is called." This is the essence of Gnosticism, a journey inward and upward, a return to the source, and a liberation of the divine spark within. Thank you for staying with me through this journey into the most obscure and provocative teachings of the Gnostic Gospels. Your curiosity, your willingness to question, and your openness to explore these ancient texts keep their wisdom alive. If this video resonated with you, share it, comment below, and let's keep this conversation going. Until next time, take care and may the light of knowledge guide you forward.